Tillamook, Land of Many Waters, Part 3. The Indians of the Land. Page 24. Chief Kilchis was the last chief of the Tillamooks. He was a great leader. He was fair. He was just in all his dealings with the whites. He helped the first white man, Joe Champion, to find lodging in a hollowed-out spruce tree. Although at the time Champion's coming, he told the people that he did not like to see the white man come to Tillamook because wherever he, the white man, went, he took all the land. But there was nothing he could say or do about it, so it was best not to hurt their feelings. One side. Okay. An example of Kilchis' wise and just nature is well portrayed in the Clark murder incident. An Indian came to Clark cabin at Grand Ron to rob the Clarks of a keg which he thought contained liquor. Mr. Clark, minister, was away from home, and Mrs. Clark and her daughter were both stabbed in the struggle with the intruder, and the house was burned. Enraged white settlers came from Yamhill to the Tillamook Indian settlement at Kilchis Point. Chief Kilchis met them, but they refused to shake hands with him. In their righteous wrath, they took a man from the tribe whom they declared was the murderer, and they hanged him. Chief Kilchis tried to reason with them, telling them that they had the wrong man, and if they would give him time, he would turn the guilty party over to him. The white men from Yamhill would not heed his words, but completed their conception of justice. When they left, Kilchis refused to shake hands with them because he said that they had blood upon them. 2 weeks later, Chief Kilchis apprehended the guilty man and sent him to Yamhill under the custody of Sheriff Quick. The white settlers then built a fort or stockade at Perkins Hill on the Trask place for protection. The natives were sullen and quiet, but they were just as scared as the settlers were, and they were glad to make peace with each other. The Indians had a remarkable system of communication. At the time of Custer's last stand, the Indians knew about it before the whites ever did. One night, John Henry Hathaway and Wood Alderman were in a teepee watching a dance when a band of about 100 natives in war paint and feathers came galloping into the village, shouting about the Indians' success in war. A friendly native came running in and told the white boys they'd better leave. Lots of Indians coming, not like white boys to be here. In a split second they were out of the teepee and into the darkness, and they didn't stop running until they reached their homes. Mr. Hathaway told the author that Nehalem John was one of the best hunters among the Indians, but that he could not tolerate the idea of a man with a better gun than his own. One day, while hunting up Kilchis River with Nehalem John, they, Mr. Hathaway and another white man, tracked a band of elk from Belgian Prairie across the river and back again, finally catching up with them at what is now called Tilden Bluffs. The two white men took all the meat they could carry, but Nehalem John took only the hide, which he could sell for a few dollars and buy some liquor. End quote. The worst fears of Chief Kilchis were realized years after his death. The white men did take the lands of the Tillamooks, Nehalems, and Nestuckas, and there was very little that the Indians could do about it. Typical of the fraudulent means by which Indians were sometimes deprived of their land rights is the case of Lizzie Adams Johnson, a daughter of Chief Ilga of the Tillamooks, who later took the name of Adams. It is general belief that the sum of $112 paid to Mrs. Johnson was for all the land formerly owned by the Tillamook tribe. From the wording of the document, the author was formed the impression that the figure mentioned above was the share due to Lizzie Adams Johnson as an individual and not the full payment to the tribe. However, if payment was made to any other member of the Tillamook tribe, the fact is not known. The wording of the Act of Congress approved August 24, 1912 is as follows. Quote, whereas the Honorable Secretary of the Interior has determined that my share of the payment to be made to the Tillamook Indians under the Act of Congress above cited amounts to $112. Now therefore, I, Lizzie Adams Johnson, a member of the Tillamook tribe of the Indians, hereby agree to accept for myself the amount so found due in full satisfaction of all demands or claims against the United States for the lands described in this agreement or unratified treaty between the United States and the Tillamook tribes of the Indians, dated August 7th, 1851. This document was signed by the thumbprint of Lizzie Adams, November 14, 1914, and witnessed by W.M. Kennedy and John A. Benson, both of Garibaldi, where Mrs. Johnson was living at the time. The Nehalem Indians seem to have fared better than the Tillamooks. In the Tillamook Herald of July 28, 1898, it says that T.E. Buford, Indian agent of the Siletz Reservation, was in Tillamook after having been in Nehalem to settle with the Nehalem Indians for the land ceded by them to the government in 1852. The land extended from Cannon Beach south to Twin Rocks, Oregon, and from the Pacific Ocean east to the summit of the Coast Range. The original agreement was that the purchase price was to be paid in cattle, tools, clothing, and provisions, etc., at stated periods, but only one payment of its kind was ever made, which was about the time of the treaty, and the matter, although repeated attempts have been made to resurrect it, has remained dormant until some 2 years ago, when P.D. Newell was prevailed upon by some of the Indians to take hold of it, with the result stated at the beginning of this quotation. The total amount paid to them was $7,875, running from about $1,500 down to something over $350. In return for the rich, beautiful land that is Tillamook County, the red man received little but poverty, disease, and heartache. Some of the new settlers were true friends of the Indians, and they received real friendship in return. But here, as in so many parts of our otherwise glorious land, we cannot look with pride at our treatment of the red man. That's it. That's the end of the first two chapters of Tillamook, Land of Many Waters.